The union is definitely screwing up the car market big time. I know a lot of people would say that the union is protecting people who work for the car market, but they're not really thinking it all the way through.
Joining us now is Ford CEO Jim Farley with our own Phil LeBeau. Phil?
John, thank you very much. Jim, we're a little over 7 hours away from the strike deadline. Where do things stand? You've made your most recent offer. What have you heard back from the UAW?
Well, everyone imagines we're in some room squirreled away doing this final negotiation, and that's what we would love for the last 2 weeks. But nothing's going on. We've received no counteroffer from Shawn Fain and the UAW.
Nothing at all?
No.
How frustrated are you with this situation?
Well, we've never seen it before. In 80 years, we've always been able to work through these differences because we're always on the side of labor at Ford. We have the highest UAW headcount. We have more people than anyone, build more vehicles. We've never seen anything like this. It's frustrating because many of our team members have negotiated successfully on non-economic issues with the national negotiators. But somehow when we get to these marquee money issues, everything stops. And it's a mystery. We've been putting contracts and negotiating with ourselves since the 29th for 2 weeks, and we still have not had any kind of counteroffer for all those major things, and we're on the eve of one of the largest strikes in our history.
Do you believe Shawn Fain is truly negotiating in good faith, or do you think this is a case of he's not even giving you a counteroffer here? He's made it a decision, we're going on strike.
Well, I think he's certainly planning. When I saw Facebook Live, he didn't even acknowledge our offer that Bill Ford, the chairman of the company, made 2 days ago until last night, and we still have not gotten an offer. I don't know what Shawn Fain is doing, but he's not negotiating this contract with us as it expires. But I know he's busy planning a strike. We don't want it. I know he thinks this will be a historic strike with all three plants, all three companies. But we want to make history with a historic deal.
We have talked with people familiar with their plans in terms of what they might announce tonight. Livonia, your transmission plant, really the bread and butter in terms of putting the engines and the vehicles, everything together. That's going to be hit, according to what we understand. What would that do? What kind of chaos would that cause for your manufacturing?
It's enormous. For a engine, transmission, or stamping plant, all the downstream assembly plants would be affected within hours or days. And what most Americans don't realize is that although that would disrupt the manufacturing and the assembly of vehicles, many of those workers may not be eligible for the strike fund or for even unemployment. So at a personal level, our employees get hurt.
So how quickly would you have to potentially lay off people from a final assembly plant because you're not getting transmissions in, and therefore there's no production?
Well, within hours or days, depending on the plant and how much float we have, we'll have to shut plants, assembly plants, hours or days. The average pay would be nearly $300,000 fully fringed for a 4-day work week. There is no way.
Per employee, per UAW employee.
Yeah, this is our fully tenured school teacher in the U.S. makes $66,000. Someone from the military or fireman makes mid-50,000. This is 4, 5 times, 6 times what they make. There's no way we can be sustainable as a company. That's why we put our proposal in 2 weeks ago to say, look, you want us to choose bankruptcy over supporting our workers? Here's our proposal. Let's work through this. We've heard nothing.
So the CEO of Ford, Jim Farley, this guy is not very happy right now, and he actually spoke his mind to the UAW about what he thinks. Jim Farley said directly to the UAW that you screwed yourselves and the people that you represent. Right now, they are going through a very hard time trying to take care of all their workers, while the union is making Ford pay more money out of pocket to take care of their workers. But the thing is that Ford is billions of dollars in debt right now. And if you're billions of dollars in debt and you're being forced to pay your workers more money, how do you think you're going to get out of debt? Of course, you can always say the simple solution is sell more cars. But the thing is that they're having a hard time with that right now. Even though they might have been the number one sold truck, that doesn't mean that they're pulling in enough. That doesn't mean that they're pulling in enough money to get out of their debt and pay their workers more money at the same time. This seems like an easy way to collapse. And if this trend keeps on going, they're easily going to be able to file for bankruptcy down the line. A lot of people will disagree, but they're like, oh, that'll never happen. Ford has so much money. But that's actually not true at all. In the past 6 months, Ford has fired over 15,000 of their staff members. That's a big number of people to let go. And they're doing that not because they want to be cheap. It's because they actually can't afford it. They're literally bleeding money, and the UAW is forcing them to bleed extra money. That doesn't seem like they're looking out for Ford at all. They might be looking out for the workers, but they're not looking out for the company Ford. They're going to be able to force them to pay more money and let them go bankrupt. Not all the people that were fired was in America. They're actually some of them outside of the country as well. They fired about 4,500 people in Europe. And they also closed factories in Spain and Mexico. Trust me, this is something that Ford does not want to do. They definitely want to keep their plants moving and growing, but if they're being forced to pay more money, they can't keep up with these plants and for the fact that they're in so much debt. And even in Australia, the union is forcing Ford to pay their workers over there as well. But what's even wilder is that they shut down the plants inside of Australia. Ford, also GM, they shut down their plants also in Australia. There are no more plants in Australia for Ford and GM, strictly because the UAW is forcing them to pay more money that they can't keep up with it. So they're forced to do these things, not because they want to or be evil or corrupt, is that people are not getting the big picture. They think that they're just shutting down plants because they want to be greedy for money. But no, that's not how it works. If you had a business and someone was forcing you to pay out more money to your people who work for you, and you realize, man, we're losing a lot more money than we can even bring in, what do you think you're going to do? You're going to do the smart thing for your business. You're going to have to shut down certain plants. And unfortunately, this is putting people out of work. And honestly, it does seem like a weird place to be, and they're trying to figure out how they're going to be able to replace all these workers. But insert Tesla bot. Yep, that's right, the Tesla bot. It's going to be a very helpful tool for them to have down the line when they can start buying these Tesla bots and not worry about paying people. They can just put these robots in the factories that can do work for them 24/7. They can charge for a bit and just go right back to work. They can work in the dark where there's no lights, so they don't have to waste money. And they can literally just keep working. They don't need food, sleep. They don't need alcohol, partying, or family time. It's just a solution that will actually help them out. A lot of people will be upset about it and say, oh, screw that, they're just being cheap. But it's actually, they're not trying to be cheap. They're trying to keep their business afloat. And luckily, Tesla is actually helping solve this problem for major companies who are losing a lot of workers because what the union is doing. I mean, it's a very wild time to be in right now. The situation is crazy, but this is what's happening. And this is the truth. And if you don't believe me, look it up for yourself. Well, a very short rant today, like usual. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for more information about what's going on with Tesla, the automotive industry, and big tech. I'll see you guys next time. See you tomorrow.